Hey everyone, and welcome. It's one thing to build an automation that works when everything is perfect. But the real pros, they build automations that don't break when things go wrong. So today, we're going to dive into how you can build truly bulletproof, resilient workflows in n8n.
All right, picture this. You spent hours building the perfect workflow. You've activated it, it's out there, running in the wild. But here's the question that should kind of keep you up at night. Are you 100% sure it's working right now? Or could it be failing over and over again completely in secret?
And that question right there brings us to our first big topic, what I like to call the silent failure problem. It's probably the single biggest danger in automation, and we have got to tackle it head on. So here's the deal. When your workflow is live, doing its thing in the background, any little thing can go wrong. Maybe an API is down for a minute, or maybe it gets some weird, unexpected data. When that happens, the workflow can just stop. And if you haven't set anything up to warn you, you're flying blind. You won't know it's broken until a customer complains or you realize data's missing days later. Okay, so how do you even begin to investigate these mysterious failures? Well, your first stop, your ground zero, is the execution log. I want you to think of this as the black box recorder for your automations. It's the complete, unfiltered history of every single time your workflow ran. It's where you go to find out what really happened. But, and this is a really important but, there's a catch you have to know about. By default, n8n only saves what are called production executions. These are the runs that happen automatically when your workflow is active. It does not save manual executions. All those times you click test step while you're building. This is a classic trap. You can test it 100 times, see no errors, but still have silent failures happening in the background that you never, ever see. Okay, so we know that these silent failures are a real threat. How do we fight back? Well, it's pretty simple, actually. We need to build an alarm system for our workflows. And that alarm system is something called an error workflow. It's a totally separate workflow. Its one and only job in life is to be your safety net. The moment any of your other workflows fail, for any reason, this one just springs to life to save the day. And here's how it works. It's a beautiful 3-step process. First, some node somewhere in one of your main workflows hits an error. Bam! Instantly, step 2, your error workflow is triggered. And then, step 3, that workflow sends you a custom alert to your Slack, to your email, wherever you want, telling you exactly what went down. Now, the magic that makes all of this possible is a special little node called the error trigger. This is the absolute heart of your error workflow. It just sits there, listening for any failures happening anywhere in your n8n account, ready to capture every single detail. And the data it gives you is pure gold for debugging. You get the name of the workflow that broke. You get a direct URL to the exact failed run so you can see the data that caused the problem. You even get the name of the specific node that failed and the actual error message itself. No more guesswork. And with all that juicy information, you can build the perfect, most helpful alert message you can imagine. Look at this example for a Slack message. It tells you which workflow broke, gives you a one-click link to go straight to the problem, and even shows you the error right there. Your team knows what's up before they even log in. How cool is that? Okay, so the error workflow is our reactive safety net. It's amazing for catching things after they break. But what if we could get ahead of the game? Let's talk about how we can be more proactive and stop errors before they even happen. And for that, we have the stop and error node. I want you to think of this node as a bouncer or a gatekeeper that you strategically place inside your workflow. Its job is to look for predictable problems, like, say, a missing piece of data, and just stop the workflow right there, on purpose, while raising a custom error message that you wrote yourself. So let's put these two side by side, because getting this is absolutely key. Your error workflow is reactive. It's your safety net. It catches the weird, unexpected stuff you never saw coming. The stop and error node, on the other hand, is proactive. It's your gatekeeper. You use it to handle the problems you can predict, preventing them from ever causing real damage. All right, now for the best part. Let's see what happens when we combine these two powerful ideas, the reactive safety net and the proactive gatekeeper. This is how we build a truly resilient workflow. So let's use a super common real-world example. Imagine your workflow gets triggered by a form submission, and it's supposed to have a valid email address. But you know users, sometimes they leave it blank, or they just type in junk. How do we handle that without letting the whole automation just crash and burn later on?
The pattern for this is actually incredibly simple. First, you just use an if node to do a quick sanity check. For an email, you could just check if the text contains an @ symbol. Super simple. If it's valid, great. The workflow just continues on its happy path. But if it's invalid, you send it down the other path, straight to a stop and error node.
And this is where it all comes together. When that stop and error node runs, it stops everything and raises that custom arrow you wrote, something like invalid email address found. And what happens anytime a workflow has an error? That's right, it triggers your global error workflow, which then sends you that beautiful detailed notification. See? You proactively caught the bad data and then used your reactive system to tell you about it. It's the best of both worlds. And don't think this is just for emails. This pattern is your new best friend for all kinds of data validation. Is a critical field from your webhook missing? Does an event type from Stripe match one of the 3 you're actually looking for? You can build these little gatekeepers for any piece of data that your workflow absolutely depends on. So when you boil it all down, it really comes to a shift in mindset. Our goal shouldn't be to just build a workflow that works on a perfect day with perfect data. No, the goal of a true automation expert is to build a workflow that is smart enough to handle the chaos of the real world, a workflow that knows how to handle things when they inevitably go wrong. So I'll leave you with this one question to take back to your own projects. You've tested it and you know your workflow works, but now you have to ask the much more important question: is it resilient? Thanks so much for tuning in.